All right, hey everyone. So we're going to continue on this series now by refining and detailing the head. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is refine the eye here, add some eyelids, and just make sure that it looks even more natural. So of course, we're going to take a look at some reference here. So you can see we kind of have the main forms blocked in. We have actually the main orbit of the eye here. So this just helps visualize what we're trying to achieve. And then we're going to add some eyelid detail. Eyelid is a bit organic and complicated, but it's essentially going from a concave surface out to a convex surface, plane and whatnot. So we're going to, again, attempt to achieve the same thing here. So the first thing that we want to do is go to our eye. Geometry, eyelid geometry, and let's just overall just kind of pull this out here a bit. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, and let's just immediately start by adding in a multi-cut and edge loop right around the middle here. Okay, and what we're gonna do is then select these edges and move them on the normal, but I don't want to just do that to the entire edge loop here. So again, if you're taking a look at the reference here, you can kind of see that we are gonna have it come out a bit on the top of the eyelid. Maybe this reference will be a little bit good. It's gonna come out on this top of the eyelid here and then flatten out towards the bottom. All right, so it's gonna come out here, flatten out towards the bottom of the eyelid. So we're essentially doing the same thing here. So I'm gonna deselect these edges here. Now, oops, actually I'm going to undo what I just did so you can see, and deselect these bottom edges here. And just grab my move tool and hold control middle mouse, and we're going to just move on the normal here, okay? And it's going to be a subtle transition to the bottom of these, of this here. And then these vertices that I didn't have selected, they're just going to get a subtle move. And we're just going to kind of even things out to kind of keep that planar form on our eye. Okay, great. So we have that. I do for sure want to bring these vertices out just a bit so they don't intersect with the eyeball. So something like that. And maybe even move this one back a bit here. Okay, great. So we have that set up. And then what I'm going to do is take the inner portion of the eyelid, or our entire eye really, and I'm going to move this back. So I'm going to hold shift and move. So we're just going to move that back, and it's okay if it intersects, no big deal. So that's fine. And then press W for move and control middle mouse, and we're going to move it on the normal. So it kind of comes in a little bit like this. Great. So that's looking good there, and we can, of course, if we wanted to kind of just space out some of these edges and refine, we can, but I don't want to spend a great deal of time doing that. I mean, I'll do that as I go, but, you know, we want to focus on really just kind of refining these large forms here, okay? So that's looking good there, and then what I want to do is, now that we have this eye detail here, we can kind of bring these down a bit, right? To kind of maybe close or make the eyelid, you know, not as big or as thick, but I think right here is good. And then with this, we'll go ahead now and add in another edge loop. So I'll go ahead and grab my multi-cut tool, and with this selected, I'll go ahead and just control middle mouse, just put it right on the middle here. So we get something like this. And actually, let me undo that. I want to bring these vertices out, okay? So I'm going to bring these vertices out because remember, looking at our pure ref here, you can kind of see that towards the bottom of the eye, they become more planar, okay? And so that's what we're trying to achieve here. And then when I add the other edge, it'll make more sense. And it'll be less to manipulate and move, okay? So we have something like this. That's looking good. And then it makes its way around. Good. I think things are looking all right here. right? So we can kind of see this detail here. So again, let's jump to our multi-cut tool, add an edge there, and move this out just ever so slightly. And we can maybe flatten them out again more towards the bottom. Okay, so you get the idea. Towards the bottom, they flatten out and are a bit more planar. And around, and as you curve to the top, they come out a bit more. Or I should say it goes from convex out here, the lower half, and concave towards the top. All right, so if I go ahead now and let's just hit 3 and check smooth preview, we can see we start to get a natural looking form to the eye, which is looking nice. And if you want to continue to refine that detail, you can to match something a little bit closer to this. And I can go ahead and bring this vertex out here. It's a little bit too far in. I think we're looking pretty good here. Just a little bit indent. All right, so I think we're good. That's looking pretty solid and it looks natural. We start to get the, again, curvature here. And if, depending on the direction that you want to go, you can always push and pull and manipulate these vertices as you see fit. So it all really depends on the style of your character. All right. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to just keep moving. Let's go ahead and work on this nose here. All right. So clearly, reference isn't going to help all that much here. You know, so we're just going to kind of take what we can from anatomy and the planes of the shape and the nose and everything and just kind of apply it to this character here. All right. So I do want to add more of an organic curvature. So I'm going to kind of do a subtle curve here. So you can see outwards, it's going to be pushed in. And then as it goes towards the bridge of the nose, they'll be pushed out. Okay, and so you can see here, I'm going to grab these bottom verts, kind of push these in. This one's really kind of dipped in, so it looks a little bit off. So we'll definitely pull this out, pull that middle vert out on the symmetry. So we get something like this, okay? And we can also jump to our front view, side view, and take a look at kind of what we have here. So we really want to bring these vertices out like this, you know, and kind of manipulate these verts, get a nice natural round out. So you can see how these verts are almost on the same axis. So I'm going to just, again, I'm going to use move in the in this side view here. So that's looking good. I'm going to bring this vertex that's actually way back here, kind of push that back a little bit too much and bring it out. And kind of do the same thing here, because if we look at this from perspective, which you always want to do, right, you can kind of see we have this dimple here, which we definitely need to address and fix, okay? So I'm just pressing 3 on the keyboard for smooth preview and 1 for the normal view or non-smooth preview. Okay, so like I said, let's go back to the side view and do some adjustments here. So I'm going to move these out, this, and just kind of adjust these where they're a bit more natural. You can see this is the middle edge, middle vertice, and I'm going to bring that out a little bit more forward, right? Because towards the center line or the main bridge of the nose, that's where it's going to be the farthest sticking out. Great, so we're just moving these verts. So now we have something that looks a little bit more natural looking from the side view, which is great, good. And got this. All right, so we have this, but we can definitely use a little bit more geometry around the nose. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I will also move these ones out just a bit. So it gets rid of that dimple there, so you can see it's nearly gone, but I think what's going to help now is adding in that other edge. So let's grab our trusty multi-cut tool. We're going to control middle mouse, put it right in the middle there. And this is going to give us more geometry to help refine this form. Remember, as I always say, only add edge loops and, geometry when you need it, okay? And this is also going to help here. You can kind of see And it's a bit stylized in the reference, but I have a good idea of the profile of the nose. So it's very planar right now. So I'm going to really move these vertices out. Actually, I might do a control move on the normal. Something like this. I think that'll help out quite a bit. Maybe take these a little bit back. Something like this. I'm going to bring this one down here a bit too. Right? So again, just manipulating moving vertices, and I'm going to take this bottom set of vertices for the nose and really kind of move that back a bit, right? And that's really going to help, you know, define the nose area and really break it off of the body and off of the face, I should say. So got something like this. That's looking good. Let's see if there's anything else we can do for now, but I think you get the idea. We're kind of just going in, adjusting some vertices, adding in geometry to really help with this form. So everything that we've been doing so far, we're just kind of doing again. All right, so if I go ahead and hit 3 and take a look, I think this is good. Maybe undo that last move there. And I think we're good. I can maybe come back and just kind of continue to refine or maybe even relax these vertices that are around the nose. But I think all in all, we're looking fairly solid. Okay, maybe something like this. So again, kind of space these out a bit. All right, I think that's good enough. So we can see we have a nice nose sticking out. And I will come back and maybe fix this area up a little bit later to get rid of that dimple. But it's just a matter of relaxing these vertices. So I think we're okay there. For the most part, that's pretty much good. So let's jump over to the mouth, and here we are here. The next thing we want to do is take a look as our reference. You can see this is really helpful here. You can kind of see how the front lip or the top lip comes out. So the very top of the mouth here is going to be the farthest extruding part of the mouth, then it curves back. And then the mouth kind of is extruding or coming out from that same point and then extrudes outwards, right? So again, in a little bit more detail, you can kind of see the shape of the mouth. And one thing really to keep in mind is how the mouth and the lips kind of curve in and pinch towards the corners of the mouth, which is what we're going to achieve here. So you can see ours needs quite a bit of detail and a little bit of love. So if I go ahead now, I'll say grab these mouth of vertices, and I'd say just kind of rotate them forward almost. Definitely ignore the side view mouth. It's not really going to be all that helpful. But you know, you can, of course, we're making sure that it is aligned. You know, we're pretty close to where we're at. I'll just keep it where it is, okay? And we have that. And so, like I said, the bottom row of vertices for the mouth is going to kind of come in towards the bottom, and then the top part of the lip is going to come out. So we're going to make these adjustments from the side, and then we're going to adjust and fix them in the perspective view, okay? And like I was just saying, these corner vertices, these are going to come in, okay? So we're going to move these vertices in towards the corners of the mouth like this. And honestly, like, it would be completely fine, yeah, just to use your world move tool. This is completely fine. All right, and maybe even move these vertices out just to give the mouth a little bit more organic curvature, right? But we're not going for a perfect anatomical mouth here. We're just trying to get the forms down on this stylized character. He's not going to have big human or just big lips in general. So he's going to have pretty thin stylized lips here. Okay. And maybe just kind of move these here. All right. So with that, we can go ahead now and do a quick extrusion of edges. Okay. So I'm going to select this edge loop, and we're going to hold shift, move back. And we can kind of see what we're doing here. So I'm not going to go too far. So right about here is good. Then I'm going to hold W, control middle mouse. Kind of just scale that in there, okay? Now, this is actually great for the top of the mouth. This is kind of giving me that form, but the bottom of the mouth, remember, this right here, this bottom of the lip needs to come to the bottom of the top lip. So I definitely need to save this here. So if I go ahead now and again, maybe grab all but the corners of the mouth, and I'll come back and address those, pull these out, and kind of maybe adjust and scale. You can kind of see I'm just kind of roughly moving these in position. Something like this. I think this will be good. And we can, of course, move and to kind of tighten that lip up. All right. So let's go ahead, jump to perspective and do some cleanup here. I'm going to actually just not use edge slide here because I just want to move some vertices here. Great. And really bring this one back towards the original extrusion. There we go. So it is still coming in, and it is going to go in as you're looping around this corner. Okay, something like this, which is great. So again, this is really nice because I don't have that many edges and vertices. If I had a ton more, it would make this, I don't want to say a nightmare, but it would just be a lot more troublesome to deal with, right? Great, so let's keep moving and just select some edges. And again, I'm in X-ray mode here. And if you're trying to get to X-ray mode, it's this icon up here. And we just bring these vertices down at the corner of the mouth. Okay, and maybe bring these vertices, kind of maybe flatten them out a bit. Something like this. All right. So a little bit more edge manipulation, and you can see we're going to want to flatten these sets of vertices out as well. Something like this. Okay. All right. This is looking good from the side. Let's jump to the front. Cool. So we're good there. We need to just bring these edges. We're going to do another extrusion, which is going to help define this lip a little bit more. And you can see it starts to curve in towards the corners of the mouth. This is what we want. Let's go ahead and do that extrusion first of this mouth. So I'm going to just hit W, Shift, move. Okay, and I'm going to press W, and we're just going to, just for now, kind of maybe close this out. And then now if we can hit 3 on the keyboard, there we go. So we get this nice natural looking, the corner of the mouth, the pinching that we were looking for right here. And of course, depending on how you want the shape of your character's mouth, you know, you can go for this again. A bit more of an anatomically correct one, but again, we're staying simple and stylized. So I'd say even definitely a simpler form than this. But if we are looking for that as a guide, you know, we're just kind of dipping that middle edge in a little bit. These can maybe come up a little bit, just like this. Again, we're trying to stay kind of fairly stylized here. So there you go. And what you can do, maybe the last step, is multi-cut and add an edge maybe on the outside here. And you can see if I now take a look at that, we have this nice lip here, this nice lip detail, okay? And we can grab these front edges here and continue to refine the detail. But everything that we need is here, so you can continue to work and refine, define, and do whatever you need, okay? And if you want, I would even say, you know, this would be good to move this top part of the face in, so it helps bring the lip out, just like we did up here with the nose. We push this in, and if you feel like you're stretching too many pieces or too many edges, well, no worries. You can always grab and space out some edges. Now we're like, I'm just kind of pulling and stretching some verts too much. That's where it's a good time to say, yeah, let's add another piece of geometry. And since we have kind of a complex edge flow and system here, we can go ahead and use the insert edge loop tool. So we can hold shift, left click. Oh, jump to edge mode first. Shift, left click, grab insert edge loop tool. And let's see how this does for us. Tool settings, make sure insert edge flow is on, and go ahead and add that in there. Great. So if we take a look now, you get this where it looks like he's kind of got this hard surface look, which is fine. All that means is you have to kind of space out your edges now. Okay, so don't just add in an edge and move on. Add in an edge, move, and start spacing out, again, an even distribution of edges. Because without doing that, you're going to get kind of this pinching in a lot of areas, which we don't want. And this is just going to help relax the area and give us the detail that we need. Okay, so something like this. And let me just double check, see how we're looking from different sides. Great. Well, that's looking a lot better. A little bit of finessing I think will probably help by moving these ones out a little bit more. But you get the idea. Good edge flow makes it easy to add geometry, refine form, and just keeps things overall a lot simpler. Okay, and maybe just a little bit on the bottom here, and move these ones out towards the corners of the mouth. We bring these ones back now, and you can see how this is going to just relax that geometry, relax that edge flow, and fix that pinching that we have. Okay, and I'm holding Control Shift middle mouse. Okay, I'm not just moving. That would completely destroy the geometry that we've worked on refining. Okay, great. That looks great. All right, so I'm happy with that. We can refine and polish as needed, but take a look at that. Now look at our character's face, right? You can see his eyes now look a lot more natural, that he has eyelids and it looks good. The nose is coming out, so we can kind of see that's looking a bit natural. And now the mouth area has a bit of a detail. And again, looks natural towards the corners of the mouth. Cool. So really happy with how that's going. Let's do the last bit here, which is just let's model this ear. Ear is a simple form, so thankfully we're not going to have to go into crazy organic geometry like here. We're definitely not doing this, but we're going to essentially do this form here with a nice simple extrusion. So jumping back, let's go ahead and click off, and let's just create a simple cube. So I'm going to create a cube. We're going to bring that up here, jump to our front view, and just kind of keep it, don't rotate or anything quite yet. We're just going to get the main form in first, okay? So I'm going to get this position, scale up, and scale out, something like this. And yeah, that looks good there. So we can grab this now, and let's just multi-cut, right? One right down the middle, Control middle mouse, and then just kind of add maybe 3. Again, if you want to use these 3 edges here, Shift and use your connect components. Okay, I'm actually going to just jump to the modeling toolkit and use the connect here because I like this one. You can connect across, and if you wanted to, yeah, we're just going to use that one. Or the connect tool is right down here, actually, so I missed that. But either way, let's just keep moving. Let's bring this form down. Now, it is going to be, eventually asymmetrical, so we're not going to worry too much about having X symmetry here. And we have this. I'm going to scale these in towards the bottom. Eventually going for that ear shape, okay? Like this. and move these up. Oops, don't want the middle one. Something like that, okay? So I think we're on the right track. Again, it's going to be fairly asymmetrical. And I'm just getting the form before we do what we need to do. And what you can do from this point is go to, like if you're in the modeling tab, deform, there's a lot of cool deform tools. So there's like non-linear flare. So say that you actually just wanted to use flare to, you know, help kind of taper this out. You definitely can. So let me actually turn on edge faces and jump out of X-ray mode, so you can kind of see here it is at 1, and we can give it a little bit of flare. Essentially flare is just a taper, okay? So that's cool. It kind of does that. And then if we want to give this another deform, you can kind of stack deformers where applicable. Do a bend. Now by default I think it's going to be off. You can see it's actually bending in the wrong axes here. No big deal. You can just take the bend and rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, and you might say, well, where is that bend? Let me actually jump to the X-ray. You can see how it's bending. Actually, I want to rotate that negative 90 degrees. There. Okay, so now we have this bend here, and we're just giving it a little bit of a curvature. Make sure to use this one in the channel box, and we can kind of just give it some natural form there. And then, of course, with ears, there's always, you know, maybe another bend, but at this point I think we're good, where it's kind of bowing out from the sides. So I'm going to actually select this and delete history, otherwise the deformers will stay there. So make sure to delete history. So I'm just going to use this from the poly modeling shelf. Okay, and now that I have this, and we can now rotate this, and we can see we lost a little bit of volume size, not a big deal. And there we go. Maybe now just continue to refine some verts. No big deal. Okay, I think we're looking good there. Close. What I actually want to do, and this is where I make the decision of going off of the 2D, is I'm not going to have my ear here. I feel like a bit too far behind the head. Like it's almost like if you just almost put it right here where the neck muscle is coming in, almost behind it. I want it in front. So what I actually want to do, again, creative decision, just move this kind of one notch here. All right, so I'm going to move that here. You can feel free to do that if you like, or stay with the reference, do whatever you want. But I am going to move this right about here and kind of move this slightly up, okay? And so with that, I can select our head geometry, and I can now kind of start to rotate and position our ear. So you can see I can just start to angle it out, and it's going to start to look pretty good there. Okay, so before I attach it, begin the process of attaching it to the head, let's continue on and refine this detail a little bit more. And we can, of course, there's a modeling toolkit if you want to use that, but I always suggest using the shift right click. So now we can go ahead and do our usual extrude, and we can do an offset here, something like this, and then move this in a little bit. Okay, great. So that's nice. We can grab this middle set of edges, move that in, and of course we need a little bit more geometry. So I'm going to grab multi-cut, middle mouse click there, control middle mouse click, excuse me, and I'm just going to control middle mouse. I'm just going to move these out on the normal there. That's looking good. And then I'm going to do the same thing, multi-cut. Let's add one right, kind of not quite halfway here, but this is fine because what I want to do is kind of curve this now with my control shift edge side. Look at that. Gives us nice round ears there, which is great. And maybe I might move these vertices a little bit more in the middle. Perfect. So that's looking good there. And what I want to do now is take these backsides, so I can select this cube, ear object, control 1, and I'm going to just select the back sides here. I'm going to tab a mark and select, click, drag, and we're going to shift, right click, extrude. So let's offset this and actually move this out. And then once I'm happy with this, I can just delete. All right. Okay. And since I rotated this object, I can kind of select these vertices here on the back side and switch this to object move settings, and I can just kind of move this. I really control the thickness of this ear. So get something like this, and that's fine. So let me control 1. We can, you know, mess with the thickness here in a little bit. And I'm gonna just move this out just a little bit. Maybe move some of this geometry, and as you can imagine, we're gonna start preparing for extrusion. All right, and we have something like this. Now, here's the thing. If I select this, we can see we have 12 edges, so I need to prepare an attachment for 12 edges. So that means I want to essentially select this set of geometry here. We can take a look. I think I need to do one more here. So we're going to go ahead and do that, but you can kind of see it. Geometry needs to be adjusted. So what I'm going to do is actually space out and move these edges, right? Because again, I'm happy with where this ear is placed here. We can see it kind of from the front view as well. We can see the ear there. And if I wanted to, I can rotate that just a little bit more. That can always change. Okay, and I need to make sure I have this edge here that's going to be right here to help kind of visualize. This is the area that I want to extrude from. All right, sorry about that. Something weird happened to the file, so I had to revert back. But I'm back to exactly where we were. We have the ear attached and to the head. So we can just select the vertices here and shift, right click, merge vertices, and we can do something small, 0.03, and we can see now that the ear is attached to the head. Great. So of course, a little bit of work needs to happen here. We just kind of need to start working on making it look a little bit more natural, moving this out, these vertices kind of meeting it halfway. And these ones in here also are going to really kind of come down quite a bit on the original surface. So I'm actually going to go inside the head here and get something like this. Yeah, so just kind of going back and forth while we're getting this thing attached. So again, we don't have any crazy complicated geometry for the ear. So if you wanted something a little bit more realistic, you could certainly go for it. If you wanted to add more geometry, go for it, more detail, you know, so just kind of showing you at least how to build the main form and attach it. And it still stays within our stylized approach, or our stylized concept, I should say. Okay, something like this. I'm going to go actually on the inside here and move some vertices around. Here we go. And I can move I'd say the bridged vertices. Just kind of get it where it's more the flow is more natural, right? So good. All right, so you can kind of see how I'm spacing out the edges, helping out the edge flow. Things are looking good. We didn't have to add in an edge here, but honestly, we may want to. You know, something that we could look into doing is kind of bringing these edges a little bit closer. These edges a little bit close. These vertices a little bit closer, right? Something like this. You can kind of see where I'm going. I'm trying to move these in a little bit more so we can add an edge running down this loop here, right? Because you can see the head starts to slope a little bit too much. I can even go in here and move this back, some of these edges back, so it better flows with what we got. And honestly, I think this will probably work because our head is fairly low topology anyways. So no harm, no foul. I think we're looking good here. So you can see how when adding geometry, I'm making sure that I have enough space, enough room essentially to do that, with hopefully minimizing the effect of the creasing, which happens when edges are really, really too close to each other. So I can kind of move these in. You can see now this edge, I can really start to move back here. So that's looking good. Maybe these. Okay, so you can see again, it has this effect. Now we never really cleaned up the neck, so that is something that we can do. This. Okay, so maybe we can adjust that here shortly, or maybe in another video if this one's running a little bit too long. So there we go. So now we have this nice set of edges that we can add, and it's going to help with our face deformation. So let's see. So we're here right now, and his head is sloping a little bit too far back. So to kind of help with that, we can go to our insert edge loop tool here. And remember, actually, you can just jump to the, so if I do that again, actually, and go to insert edge loop tool, but I grab the settings, it'll automatically pop the settings up here. So you don't have to hit the tool and hit the settings there. So either way looks good. I mean, again, that's only when you want to verify that insert edge loop tool is on. So we can go here right about the middle and remove our tool settings. There, look at that. So we're able to add that in there. There's no creasing. Now again, by creasing, I mean when the edges are maybe a little bit too close. So now you can kind of see that there's this faint creasing that's happening. But because we prepared and added it, it's really not even noticeable. So again, now we have nice clean topology for our ear here. We have nice flowing topology running around the head. And we can do a little bit of cleanup here towards under area or the jawline. So that's looking good. And if you want to finesse the ear and kind of detail the ear a little bit more, we certainly can. So what I want to do is actually take a step back and detach the ear. I'm not sure if you guys combined it or not, from the head. And let's spend a little bit more time preparing how it actually combines, right? So you can kind of see how things are looking here. We have the ear in position. We just need to now make sure that it combines. And we need to make sure when it combines from the front side of the head that these edges and vertices are kind of coming out. So you can see this face loop here, which is what makes the ear a little bit more complicated, right? So if I isolate this ear, you can kind of see how things are looking down here, right? So, and this is the natural shape of the ear, where it's kind of similar to the eye, where you have a loop kind of going in, and then towards the front, it's going outwards, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna unisolate so you can kind of see where we're at. So we have all of this. We can jump to X-ray mode. I think we're good there. And again, I also spaced out the vertices that were on the head to give myself some more room, and so it helps with the overall edge flow. And once you have that, once you've combined the ear with the head, I have mine set up already. You want to actually go ahead and, I haven't used this tool yet, but it's really good. Let me move this vert back just a little bit. Okay, something like that. and select the edge of the ear and then the edge loop of the head. And let's do a shift right click and let's do a quick bridge. So you can see there's a bridge here and boom, it goes ahead and does it. In this case, we weren't welding vertices directly from one to the other. We're actually using a bridge, which actually works out quite nice. All right. And so now I can go ahead and start to move and position our vertices here. For the ear, things are a little bit cleaned up now that we actually just kind of separated and detached it. And you can kind of see, again, how the edge flow, the face loop, is going from the side of the face, attaching to the ear, and then we have it going directly to the ear. All right, and you can make the transition a bit more subtle. You know, you can maybe bring these vertices out a bit. So it looks a little bit more natural, just like it is on our ear, right? And if we take a look at our pure ref, you can kind of see in this block out, you know, how the planes of the face attaches to the ear. And then right about here, that's where you get the loop of the ear, which is exactly what we have going on, where we have the front of the face here, right? You know, that's this area here. And then we have the ear loop here, which is that transition between this set of faces and here on the back of the ear. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too difficult to follow along. If it is, let me know. I can, you know, do another one, maybe just focused on the ear, because there's a, you know, it's such a complex organic object and it's very intricate. Even when we're looking at it, you know, looking at the face and looking at the ear and trying to combine the two. But, you know, I think what we have right now should work for our needs, okay? And I'm actually going to bring down some of these edges here. Kind of helps with that edge loop. And yeah, bring this one out. So again, just making sure that there's a more seamless transition of the ear. All right, I can, you know, continue to clean this up and after this tutorial, but hopefully again this helps. What I do want to do is actually hold tab and just kind of scale these in just a little bit, something like that. And that'll give you, again, a little bit more geometry to play with, where the top of the ear is a bit more, it is thicker than it is on the bottom, or if you want the bottom thicker than the top, you know, you're going to have those variations throughout this, okay? But I think this looks natural. We're, again, at the end of the day, really just trying to keep this nice and simplified. And if you want this to go in further, you can always do another extrude, you know, do another extrude, do another offset, so you have something like this now. Off edge traces, oops, you know, so I'm gonna undo that, but just so you have an idea of how to do that. But here's where we are. Okay, we have eyes that have attached to, excuse me, we have eyelids now that are part of the eye or conform to the eye and look a lot more natural. We have the nose now that looks like it's, again, extruded out from the face and it has separate geometry for animation. We have our mouth, which has a lot more detail and pinching in towards the corner of the mouth and whatnot. And then of course our ear. So, you know, a little bit of fine tuning can happen in the, you know, in between this tutorial and the next one, because the next tutorial I'm going to work on the hair and add the hair to our character, and then we're going to just really start banging out the rest of these, which is going to be clothes and then goggles and then the hammer. All right, and we'll be done. So I'd say we've easily passed the halfway mark, so everything else should just be, you know, using everything that we've learned so far and applying it to the further modeling of the character. So everything's looking really good, and we just spent the last 2 videos focusing on the head. All right, Any questions, throw them down below. Like and subscribe, always appreciated. And I mean, if you got any questions, thanks again for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.